I've been running into this issue a lot with several people who I view as relatively well educated on political issues, but are 10 years younger than me, and I was in school a few years before standardized testing. Which is why I've said repeatedly that young voting age people really need a civics lesson badly. And please, don't take this in a condescending way. You are most likely maliciously robbed of a good civics education that myself and the past few generations were provided. This basic lack of understanding of political rules and their implication in practice are why young people were so angry about Obama and Democrats in general, and why they were viewed as illegally rigging the election, and why Russia was so good at spreading this misinformation around, especially among young people who weren't given a good understanding of the rules of the game being played before they all started, like people of my generation were. I'm not going to discuss if Bernie was cheated in the comments. That's a whole nother mess of party and state rules we would have to sort through. They may seem unfair, but are 100% legal, but what shocked me was how little people understand House and Senate rules, and just how much power the Senate Majority Leader has, and how one senator elected, even a Dino, can bring change to the entire direction the country will take. If you live in a red state and are progressive, with a Senate candidate this year whom you absolutely loathe and can't see how their loss would change the nation one iota from one more Republican win, you could not be more wrong and need to understand that their D or R means a lot more than you think. Very much so. I'm talking especially about Joe Donnelly of Indiana, Heidi Heitkamp of North Dakota, and Joe Manchin of West Virginia. Who runs the Senate is way more powerful than you might think if you don't understand this. Mitch McConnell was able to block Obama's nomination. Merrick Garland, in an up or down vote, was slated to win the Supreme Court majority handily. But Mitch sat on the vote, and Garland's nomination expired. The same is true about a lot of bills in both the House and Senate. It's why the Democrats make a huge deal about pushing McConnell and Ryan to at least let people vote on the issues ranging from comprehensive immigration to a simple gun reform bills. The leaders of the House and Senate have full authority to block any vote from coming up for a vote and can let bills die by not allowing them to be voted on. It's why Harry Reid should get the most blame of Obama's first 2 years, being weak-willed, and he effectively lacklusterly hamstrung Obama at every step of the way, especially the ACA, which could have been way better and much closer to single-payer or at least public option than we ended up getting. While Pelosi was a darling of the party for so long, as a House leader, she whipped up all the votes she needed and got her party to do what they needed, just to have everything hit a brick wall in the Senate. When voting for Donnelly, you are voting for Schumer and a ton of other powers to the party, even if you hate Donnelly personally. The Senate leader also appoints chairs of committees, and he gives his party investigative and subpoena power. Also without Manchin, Schumer wouldn't have subpoena power in the Russia investigation, Trump's potential, and now looking more likely, crimes, and if the evidence is high enough to sway 2/3 of the Senate, his removal by impeachment. Under McConnell leadership, not only would he block removal of Trump, he would also allow a vote for removal from impeachment of Rod Rosenstein and ultimately kill the Mueller investigation, allowing corruption and foreign election interference to become the norm in the U.S. Dems are not uniform or lockstep. Dino's getting elected, while not ideal, will, if we win the Senate, allow the blockage of the Kavanaugh court seat. I agree that these dinos in some cases are Weasley pieces of shit, but number in the Senate matters as to whether the rule of law and election interference becomes the U.S. norm. This is not the election to teach Dems a lesson with every freedom we hold dear on the line. In our two-party system, you vote for people in the primary, but against people in the general. And when you have an incumbent, you usually don't even get that ability. It's bullshit, but it's the rules. Even if Donnelly or Heitkamp would vote for a Trump appointee, if Schumer blocks it for coming up to a vote, the point is moot. Even if you just care about restoring the Voting Rights Act or the ability to bring election security funding to our vote, that will be completely impossible with McConnell in charge. Schumer's blocking of even voting on the item will massively weaken anything Manchin would vote for under McConnell. Lastly, your anger, whether you know it or not, has been impacted by Russia. They have been interfering in this election just like the last one, using this misunderstanding of how legislative powers work to split the base and weaken the Democrats collectively. The House is too diverse and concentrated powers too small to attack in this manner. They can at best slightly dampen the possible blue wave, but we have repeated reports of vulnerable senators with big names getting attacked and hacked by smear campaigns and heightening their flaws and downplaying the flaws of their opponents. This is their playbook. Know the facts about how the system works before we get another 2 to infinite number of years with Trumpian government of kleptocracy as the norm. Your candidate caters not just to you, but the people in the middle of your area, and the redder you are, the redder they will be. But we need them badly to give Schumer McConnell's current powers, and that's an uncomfortable truth. So to any red state liberal disgusted with their Democratic senators, their D will decide who controls the Senate and what bills come up for a vote. Hold your nose and vote against Mitch McConnell. Protect Mueller and maybe even the Supreme Court seat.